Hey everybody, Andy here. Happy Thursday, helping you build a career you love. Welcome to my live office hour show. We got a hot topics talk today on the job market. Loads of stuff to catch up with you on. We're doing this live in July. It's July 14th, 2022, or maybe you're watching this on a replay on a different day of the week. As long as you're here with me, I love to have you. If you are here with me live, get in the chat, say hi. Let me know who you are, where you're from, what you do, what you need. Put some question marks in front of your questions. If you're in any of my programs, let me know. What's today all about? We're going to talk about the job market itself. This is building on something I talked about a couple of months ago. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market right now. I'm going to try to help you make sense of it, what it means to you. I want to talk about the trends. I want to give you some specific signals to look for so that you could foresee what's about to happen, so you could make the right adjustments in your life, in your career, in anything that you do to make sure you're making smart moves. And I'm going to get tactical with three little topics that I want to echo that I've been covering over the last month, which is how to interview employers and some key things I want to make sure that you are evaluating, as well as some assets I want to provide for you to help you become indispensable at work. And I also want to talk about pay raises today, and I want to hit some key points of things for you to think about. So I've had some major live shows over the last month where I've covered a lot of these topics in detail, but the one thing that I haven't covered is kind of a new, fresh look at what's happening in the market. I want to do that first because it's a great lead into the other stuff. So great to have you. Let me see if I can say hi. Music 80s, fan of Andy. I love that handle. I know you've been around. Ronald MGM, Job Searcher 1000. Let's hope it doesn't take you that long. Adam Stark, Jim, EGR, NHL, Aylin, one of my favorite people, and Beth, look at that, two of my favorite people right in a row, Beth Fanger too. Okay, and everybody else, great to have you. What are we talking about today? Job market stuff. All right, now I want to point you back to a video. In March, I did a live show. In April, we released the recording of it. It was called Job Market Outlook 2022. If you haven't seen it, it is an in-depth look at how we got to where we are right now, the evolution, last 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. I did it all in a brief amount of time where I showed you charts and graphs and everything about why we are in the place we're at with employment, with the stock market, with wage inflation, with price inflation and all that good stuff, and what it can mean to you in terms of what sectors I think will thrive in the next 12 months, 3 months, 12 months, and so on. I want to talk more about that today. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details I went into in that show. It's well laid out, and it all still applies because a lot of it was heavy on what was happening and why I think it's a great predictor of what the future is. But I want to talk today about some numbers that came out over the past couple of days. I mentioned it's July 14th, but yesterday, the inflation in the United States, the inflation numbers came out, the consumer price index, and inflation is still going up, 9.1%, which is a half a point, which is a precipitous climb from the previous month, which May numbers, which was 8.6. And when you start to look at some of the other factors that go into the fact that prices are still increasing, even though our Fed is raising interest rates, which is making it less attractive to spend money on things and borrow money. But the housing numbers are pretty staggering as well. And housing is a big chunk of people's paycheck. It is a large portion of their expenses. And housing in June was up 5.6%. That's June 2022 over June 2021. And if that doesn't sound like a big number, it's the biggest climb that we've had in 31 years. And when you also, I mentioned the housing because not only is it a big part of everybody's expenses and things we have to think about, and it's not just homes, it's rent too, but when you look at the core number of inflation, which takes out volatile areas like energy and food, the core inflation rate at 5.9% is still very high, and 40% of that 5.91% is housing numbers. So when housing prices are up and the Fed is raising interest rates, that's squeezing your dollar. It's making homes more expensive in general, and then the loans to carry them are even that much more expensive. And what in turn happens, the triple whammy there, is that rent is going to go up as well. So it doesn't matter if you own a home or not. It's putting pressure on everybody in the world. My wife, her son, who lives in Tempe, Arizona, not Scottsdale, not Phoenix, and not Tucson, pays $2,200 for his one-bedroom apartment, and his landlord just told him the other day, earlier in the week, that his rent's going up $300. So give me a hey in the chat if you're feeling squeezed. I'm feeling squeezed. I go to the grocery store, I look at the prices, and I think, oh my goodness. But there's something else that I want you to keep your eye out for. Is while those are indications of prices and climbing, what you need to pay very close attention for you all is what is helping predict the trend of what's going to happen. Something called the PCE, the personal consumption expenditure, not a number you hear a lot in the news. But when you look back at February, March, April, May, last 4 months of the numbers, it's been going down, 5.3, 5.2, 4.9, 4.7. And what does that mean? It means even though prices are still going up, consumer spending for durable, non-durable goods and services is going down. It's going down slowly, but it's going down. So it's starting to take effect. Why does this make any difference to you? Well, it's going to give you an indication not only of what's happening in the stock market and likely what will trail in the employment market, but it's also going to be a good indicator for you of what type of organizations to target or not target for your searches. So, and I'll get into some of that here in a minute of why that number is important and why I want you to watch it, because I'm going to tell you about some signals and things to look out for that'll be very easy for you to follow because it'll likely be happening to you as you're going about your work. Now, when you think about retailers, right? If we're spending less and less money, retailers are going to do what? Inventories are going to start to drop. Their prices are also going to start to drop because they're going to want to shed the inventory. Now, if you think about that for a second, I mean, it's July, right? Mid-July, if you're here with me live. It's later if you're watching this on the recording. Holiday spending is only 16 weeks away. I know I know I went out for a beautiful run this morning. If you could see that sort of in that blurred out background there, that's my real house. It's sunny, right? But snow's coming anytime soon, and it's going to be holiday spending. And if you're a retailer, in 16 weeks are you going to be selling stuff where you have no inventory and people have no money to buy stuff? Right, so I want you to think about this, and you've seen recently that the stock market, since we talked back in March and April, the stock market has gone down. It's gone into bear market territory, right? We've dropped 20% off recent highs, so you can see that happening now. The employment market generally has a trailing effect. The employment market tends to lag the stock market. It always lags the stock market when the stock market goes down. It does not always lag the stock market when the stock market makes a recovery and comes back up. So if more people are being hired and jobs are being created, that's great. If not, and the jobs don't come back, it's called a jobless recovery. You might probably heard that expression, but that can happen as well. So I want you to keep an eye out for this stuff. So just to talk about a few things related to employment, the employment number is still pretty low. This is in the United States, but I know there's similar trends around the world. 3.6, pretty good number, right? And 6 million or so people still out of work. That's publicized. I know that those are not holistic numbers, but generally for illustrative purposes, go with me on this. Except that we're still adding jobs, and actually we're adding jobs at a higher clip than we thought we were. So economists estimated 250,000 to 250,000 jobs to be added in June, but there was 372,000. They missed it by 50%. So that is good in many respects. But that thing I told you I've showed you this a number of times, the JOLTS report, the Job Openings, a Labor Turnover Survey. I want to show you what's actually happening with that. And anybody who's actually looked at this, this is the JOLTS report. You can find it on the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. I look at this every month. And I look at it multiple times because they've always put a preliminary number. And I want to show you this graph of the last 10 years. And you can see if you can, I don't know if you can make out my cursor here, but if you can see, it's rising. And then what was this? This was COVID. And then we've been on the upswing. But if you can notice this little dip right here, I'm going to show you what this looks like. So back in February, we were at 11 million. That's 11.3 million jobs that are open and advertised open. They're not all the jobs that are open, right? For those of you that follow me, you know most of the jobs are unpublicized. However, this is a good indicator of the health of the market, if not an absolute metric. So keep that in mind. You look at these things to understand trends, not absolutions. Then it goes up 11.8. And now it's going down. So that's a couple 100,000, 175,000, give or take. But now we're taking another dip over 450, almost 500,000 down. So you've had additional jobs added at a greater clip than we thought, except the actual number of job openings are going down. This is your indication that the job market for the employees will start to cool off. Now, it's just one indicator, but it's something that I would highly recommend that you look at. But now, if you don't want to follow the charts and the graphs and all that other good stuff, and you don't want the economics lesson, that's okay. You come to the live shows and I'll help spoon feed you. Or you can do some of this. You can look for the signals I'm about to give you, and I wanted to think of maybe a half a dozen things that you all can look at that are just going to be indicators of what you're going to see changing in the market in the next 6 months. Okay, this is especially important for job seekers, but even job stayers. I want you to be mindful of this as you start to see changes in your current environment. So what are these signals? Well, I look at other things. I'm going to show you another little nifty graphic here, courtesy of the Wall Street Journal. I don't know if you all are seeing this yet, but there are shifts with employers as it relates to remote working. And I don't know if any of you know who Castle Systems is. It's Castle with a K. But if you work in a skyscraper or an office building, and you have those key swipes, the cards are swiped to enter and exit into the building or into particular sections of the building, Castle Systems is probably the company that makes the card. And what they've done is they've started to publicize some details of their tracking of corporate buildings in metropolitan cities throughout the United States. And if you can see this up here at 100%. So before the pandemic really went into effect a couple of years ago, there was high occupancy. Now, there are more below. I'll kind of scroll down here very quickly, but I just want you to get a sense of this. And this black line on every graph is the 10-city average of the 10 cities that they publicized. I'll show you what the 10 cities are in case one of them is your hometown or your spot. But basically, look at the drop off, and then this is the average occupancy in the offices across these 10 cities. But have you noticed it's kind of gone up, and we've had some dips, pandemic again and all that other stuff. But there's San Jose and San Francisco. Philadelphia is like right on the dot of average. Washington, D.C., L.A., Chicago is lagging, no surprise. New York is lagging, no surprise. Dallas is above. Houston, Texas. So apparently, if you're in the Texas area, you're doing pretty well. There's a lot of people back to the office. So why am I showing you this? Well, one of the things that you'll start to notice around you, mark my words, you will start to notice this trend. Now, I don't think that remote working will ever completely go away. And I think a lot of companies will embrace it and continue to embrace it as a perk for what they do, an invitation to work with them because it'll be a better lifestyle for you and all that good stuff. But I want you to start looking for these things, especially if you are a job seeker or even a job stayer. Workers back to the office. Now, you don't have to go follow the graphs. Just noticing, are there more and more people spending more and more time? Because I do think over time, employers will make the shift. See, right now, employers are still making a lot of concessions, right? You're still getting what? Flexibility in remote work. You're getting recruiters who are quick to respond, even those that are in different cities from you, or you might be fielding inbound inquiries from recruiters who are calling you, hey, I'm in Atlanta, you're in Philadelphia, hey, it doesn't matter to me, you got the skills I need, would you be interested in talking? I think you're going to see a slowdown in that. Okay, I think you're going to see a slowdown in that, the reach outs. I think you're going to see a slowdown in responses. I think you're going to see a slowdown in flexibility. And I think you'll also see uptick in travel and some of these other things where companies feel these are a better way to do business. Now, I'm not going to argue with it. It's better for some companies. It isn't better for some companies. I want you to be on the lookout, because when you start seeing these things change, you know that the tables are starting to turn from an employee-favored market to an employer-favored market. They don't have to give as many concessions. Okay, so these are some signals. What else? I want you to watch that personal consumption expenditure number. It is the thing you should look at. That's going to matter most to you. The consumer price index is somebody going door to door, checking out what prices are costing, where they're costing, and all that good stuff. But what you're going to be more, yes, you're going to be concerned from a pocketbook standpoint. From a job searching standpoint, you want to look at, are people consuming goods? Listen, I don't need to buy new shirts, right? I don't need to buy certain things in my life, but there's other things I'm going to need that are more staples than luxury items or discretionary items. You want to keep an eye out, because if spending keeps going down, anything that's non-essential is going to keep going down. I went into detail in this in that Job Market Outlook 2022 video. Watch the inventories for particular organizations. If you are a consumer looking to buy something, watch the inventories going down. You're going to see there's going to be some fighting with the retailers with lowering their prices, but they're eventually going to have to lower the prices. But from a job seeking standpoint, if inventories are going down, that is not a good place to go to work, right? And holiday spending, keep your eye on this. Remember, most retailers make hay in the few months at the end of the year. Well, it's going to be a really difficult year for retailers, because nobody's going to be buying anything, and they're not going to have any goods, and if they do, they're going to have to lower their prices. So from a profit standpoint, that's not going to be good. Right? So I think you're going to see this again. I also think you're going to see, when you start to see travel prices go down, that's going to be an indication as well. Travel prices went way up, right? There was a huge bounce back because of the revenge traveling from the people who couldn't travel during COVID. And then they started reducing flights and raising costs. So I want you to think about this. And then what I was saying about, retailers. Right? This, you don't need to be an economist to understand this. If you are a technologist and you're used to supporting retail companies, try to figure out if you have better chances to go with consumer goods that are more staple based than discretionary items. And I want to get into some of the tactics I want you to employ. But before I do that, it's pretty good. I wanted to get that done by 20 minutes in. I'm 2 minutes early. Okay. So wait, if you're enjoying this, click the like button. Send the message to YouTube that it's good stuff. Share it, please. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let me take a sip. I tried to do everything I could to brighten your day. I took out my distressed polo that was orange. I figured no black or gray today. We gotta brighten their day. I brought my little flower cup out. If you're enjoying this and you're tracking with me so far, give me a hey in the chat too. Yes, it's really, really good stuff. Okay, so what's a job? Well, this is for a job seeker. What's a job? And actually, even a job stayer could be asking these questions. What's a job seeker or job stayer to do? You want to make sure, if you're mobile right now, meaning I'm changing, or I'm unemployed, or I'm changing jobs, or I hate my life and I'm changing careers, or whatever. You want to make sure you are evaluating organizations. You got to go deep. Go deep for Coach Andy. Okay, I need you to ask these questions, because I want you to make a great choice. Now, on June 23rd, I even put a little date there, I did a best questions to ask employers. There were 28 of them. There was like 23, and then I threw 5 oldies but goodies in there too. It's really 28. I want to revisit maybe one from each section, because I really just want to echo it. I realize not everybody listens to every minute of everything I say, whether it's on the YouTube channel or the podcast or the Instagram or wherever. But let's get into some of these areas, and if you've not caught that video, really check it out. It's called The Best Questions to Ask Employers in a job interview or something like that in 2022. And I really tailored these to current events. All right, on the financial side, which areas are you investing in? And what level of investment do you think it'll take to become number one? Not just dollars, but people and effort and projects you need, and products you need to launch, services you need to launch, projects you need to implement, whatever they are. A rationale behind this, you want to make sure you are getting into an area that is thriving and they're going to be committed to it. If you are going into a retailer who's asking you to work on a legacy system that they're trying to sunset, I'm going to tackle you and say, no, 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 don't do it, right? Kind of thing. So I just want to make sure that you are going in primed. I also mentioned that a lot of companies fail, not because they can't generate revenue, but because of how they allocate it. We talked about that. But they also fail because they are successful and didn't appropriately plan for success. What do I mean? You are always trying to work toward tomorrow's problems, right? What's tomorrow's problems? I am Andy, and I am the owner of the Mile Walk Academy. My first problem was I had to build a community so people knew who the hell I was and what I was doing. That's problem one. But the problem I'm working toward is to get them to like what I'm putting out there, it being valuable to them to the extent that I can help them at a deeper level, which means they need to buy my services or products. I have a sales problem, or I have a marketing and sales problem. Then what am I doing? I'm working feverishly, not just to sell my programs and services, but what? I got to service them. I got a service problem I'm working toward. And at every interval, I felt, guess what? Pain. Like pain. Excruciating pain. I would show that to you, right? Because that was the stuff I was working hard to suffer for, right? What am I willing to suffer for? That was it. Well, every company has this. Except that if they poorly position themselves, they fail when they get there because their customers are not happy because they can't get the parts they need or the answers they need or the call center takes too long to hang on or I can't get this to work or whatever. Okay, so when you are going into an interview, you want to know what the problems are, and you not just what are they, but from a resources standpoint, how will today's resources that you're hiring for fit in solving tomorrow's problems? Well, they won't, or I'm just going to have to hire more people in the future, right? Or we're going to uptrain you and cross-train you so that not only can you handle selling to mid-market companies, but once you understand our product and service, you're perfect, you fit, because then I'm going to bring you up to the enterprise level and you're my guy or you're my gal or whatever. Right? Great. But you want to understand how the resources they are hired, not just you. Okay, remember, we are evaluating the viability of the organization as it relates to the question of, are you a good company? Then there are all the other questions. Are you a good company for me? Do you fit the culture? Do I like the boss? But these are all other things that you want to stack on top. All right, and then you want to understand how committed and patient they are. What happens if you don't achieve your growth? What happens if Coach Andy is like Nostradamus and says you're going to crater in November and December and January because you're not going to have any dolls to sell to the kids whose parents can't afford them, right? What's going to happen? How are we going to get through that? How patient are you going to be in the areas we're investing in? What's our timeline? What happens if we don't hit the timeline? What happens if the output? I'm waiting for a part on my brand new washer and dryer. I've been waiting for a part, and it's non-critical, because otherwise I would have driven the dryer back to them and thrown it on their lawn. 5 months. 5 months. My door opens both ways, except I can't just open it this way now because the plugs aren't working or whatever. Right? Like that kind of stuff. Okay? So you need to be able to ask them that. I always, any day for the rest of your life, anytime you're interviewing, you got to know what the risks are. What are the biggest risks to achieving your goals? What are your mitigating plans? What are your contingency plans? So on and so forth. So I want you to venture in this area. And then I also want you to make sure that they have learned from their previous issues. One of the greatest previous issues you can tackle is COVID, right? What was the last big one? Oh, COVID, 2 years ago. We really weren't ready for anything like that. We always had everybody in the office 5 days a week. We weren't set up for remote working, whatever, right? Okay, well, what did you learn? Great. Well, what have you changed? Right? You need to make sure that they've made adjustments. Well, wait, did you have, and then by the way, COVID was your worst one. How many people did you let go? How did you go about letting them go? Did any of them come back? At what rate did they come back? Actually, how many did you ask back and how many said yes? Or how many said no? Right, like go into all this with them. Go into all this with them. And then I've got another one that I don't think I brought this one up in the 28 questions, but I do want to mention this one because of what I showed you with the graphs of the different cities. But based on the market, based on the current whatever we're doing, what do you anticipate the landscape of the company looking like in 12 months? Why do you think that is? Everything from what we do, how we do it, the way we operate, the office environment, the working arrangements, right? I've been coaching a lot of people over the last, long time, but in the last, say, 5-6 months, and I coach a lot of people that interview with Apple and Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and Netflix and Amazon and all this, and we're always asking, I always coach them to ask questions about what are your policies going forward? Yes, everybody's working from home 2 days a week right now, and you expect that to go down. You expect that to go up. You expect higher. We're all over this, okay? And you should be too. All right, so that's the piece. That's the piece on how to investigate the employers, and that's kind of a mini lesson where I have a larger lesson in the live stream, or maybe we'll eventually cut that and make a replay of that. But that's a tight little package on questions I would be asking in a job interview right now. And let's just make sure that we'll just recap it. If you want to watch the full lesson, there's a live stream from June 23rd. It's got 28 questions. I want you to address the financial areas that they're investing in. I want you to address tomorrow's problems and how that's affecting the resources that they're hiring today. I also want you to know their commitment and patience level to achieving their goals and what that will do to their operating behaviors. If they achieve more, achieve less. And then what are the biggest risks? What is the previous major issue they had, as well as what the landscape of the company will look like coming up very soon. I don't even know how many questions that was, but I want you to do that. All right, so that's that little section. Hope you enjoyed that. If you enjoyed that one, maybe if you haven't clicked the like button, you can click the like button and send the message to the YouTubers that Andy's on his game today. All right. Oh, I did another live stream on June 30th. Maybe you were there. How to become indispensable at work. Now, I'm going to encapsulate this one in maybe 90 seconds because I just want to do a bunch of giveaways here. Maybe the team, lock and load, team. Lock and load these suckers up for everybody. All right, I did a whole lesson on, I probably told you some of Andy's dating stories, and I don't know if there was the underwear story that was in there with the polo underwear, that was in there, but basically how to look at becoming the best and most valuable employee. And it was about everything that you need to do, understanding what everybody does, effort you're gonna put in, how you're gonna approach it, skills you're gonna build, and then also you wanna make sure that you are collecting what it is you're accomplishing. So I wanna give you 3 assets as this part of the little hot topic talk. There was a CAG, a Career Achievements Journal. This is a booklet I put out like 6 years ago. It's awesome. 14 areas that I want you to look at for every discrete project you do on your job. Now, your discrete project could be the same thing over and over every day in case you only need one entry. Or it could be, I'm working on different projects. I'm working on implementing this technology solution. I'm working on building some infrastructure. I'm building a new software evaluation methodology or whatever. Those are all discrete. And there's 14 different components. The thing that is so awesome about the Career Achievements Journal is it is the ultimate pieces of information you need to include to understand the context of what you're doing, the value you're contributing, the players who were there, how long it took, how much it cost, all the stuff you wish you'd know like 4 years from now when you're putting your resume together and you're thinking back to, oh my Lord, what did I do on that project? I don't remember. Well, you would have if you'd have had Andy's Career Achievements Journal. Okay, take that one. Then there's LSBR. That's my leadership skill building roadmap. It's my 35-page booklet and methodology of everything that you need to do to go through Andy's 5 tiers of leadership mastery. So where you go through different layers throughout your career, and I'm not going to go through all that because you can download the free booklet because my team is going to drop it right in the chat. And what it'll do is it highlights the 46 different skills that I think every professional, doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter what your job is, doesn't matter if you are a white-collar professional in some form or fashion or aspire to be one. These are the 46 skills you need to learn. And I show you, I give you the methodology, I give you the write-up, I help you understand how to actually put an action plan together, a development plan for yourself. There's a tool in there to assess your proficiency at each level within the skills and also track your progress. If you and so there's the 9 steps that I take you through to how to do all this, and whether you are in my leadership coaching program or whether you're just taking advantage of this as a freemium, all of that's in there. And then if you are a member of my leadership coaching program, there are links in the booklet to the actual lessons in my leadership library. That's a paid subscription. If you're interested in that, you can check that out, my leadership coaching program. That is a great skill building syllabus, outline, methodology, and something you can use for your entire career to build yourself professionally. And then the last thing I have is a little challenge if you want. It's called Master Your Craft. This is all these are free. All these are free unless you want all the video lessons, the like 50 video lessons that go along with the leadership skill building roadmap. But I outline that. But I would highly recommend, just to kind of recap this portion, just check out that live stream on June 30th about how to become indispensable at work. All right. Hope you enjoyed that section. Now, all right. Pay raise. Now, this is a little, actually, we did a mega session last week. It was awesome. It was a couple hours. I talked at length about why this is so important right now and how the evolution of how we got to today with wage inflation and what this has done to basically put a disparity between individuals who are job seeking and new hires, let's say the last 9 months. If you've been hired into your new job in the last 9 months, probably pretty good. And if you've been with your organization longer than that, there is a possibility, dare I say probability, that you are likely getting paid less than somebody who more recently came into your organization. And to make matters even worse, that person who came in probably has less experience than you do, or at a minimum, they have less experience than you do at that company. And you're probably earning less. So we want you to make sure that your employer right sizes your pay. But regardless, I gave you a wonderful formula, how to go through it, what to collect, what to say, and all that good stuff, because I showed you a portion of a lesson out of my leadership coaching program. That live stream, unfortunately, is no longer available, but that's okay, because today I'm going to touch on a few things just conceptually. So if you saw it and you want a little reminder, or if you didn't see it at all, you can do one of a couple things. You can just take what I'm going to give you right now, or you can jump into my leadership coaching program and watch all the lesson as well as all the case studies, which I didn't even show you on my live show last week. All right, so there are 3 things I want you to consider that I want to touch on today. When you're asking for a pay raise, I want you to think about your accomplishments, and remember, your pay raise is about the future and what you're going to do. It is not related to past performance. Yes, of course, past performance is an indication to your employer whether you're a good bet or not. But the rate at which they're going to pay you going forward should be, for them, based on the value you're going to contribute in what? The future. How do you settle up in arrears? It's called a bonus, or it's called a spiff, or it's a here's an extra check for being awesome and thank you for all those projects. All right, so now, accomplishments, estimated future value going forward. And then the juxtaposition, I talked about this, about what it would be like to actually pay for a new resource to replace you. So let's talk about these a little bit. All right, accomplishments. What do I want you to collect? I want you to collect your key accomplishments. Guess what? If you have the Career Achievements Journal, this is going to be damn easy. All right, and you're going to be able to think it through, and do not rely or expect your boss, your management team, your teammates, your children, or anybody to actually remember what you accomplished. Don't. They're busy. They got their own things they're worried about accomplishing. They're not paying attention to you, what happened as a result of what you did, or the ripple effects that will occur as a result of what you did. You need to bring that to the surface. What were the immediate benefits? We put the system in, and all of a sudden our call center call times went down by 50%, and our customer sat rates month over month went up by 10% every month since this was put in. Okay, those are immediate, right? Extended benefits. Was there anything else that occurred as a result of the immediate benefits? Those come in two forms. Well, in addition to the call times going down and customer sat scores going up, guess what else we got? We had more time to spend on the phone, selling more stuff to our existing customers who love us, even though something was broken and we fixed it. And then we sold them something else, or we sold them a new plan or whatever. So that led into additional benefits. Or guess what? Going forward now, this is going to be really great because next year we don't have to spend any money. The call times are still going to stay down and you're still going to get the benefits going forward. Those are extended benefits. Think about all these. You need these to show value, okay? And the extended benefits it's kind of like paying you commissions on something you sold last year for this year. All right, and then you got to go into estimated future value. What do I mean by this? This is what you get paid for. This is what the raise should cover, okay? So, current trajectory. If I just kept doing what I'm doing, I can do it faster. I can do it faster and I could do more, which means less money, more money, or whatever, okay? Right? Because it's a year later. You should be a year faster. You should be incrementally better. Okay, there's an argument to be made there. I deserve more money if I'm going to help you accomplish more, even if I'm still doing the same thing. New responsibilities. Maybe I'm a project manager. I'm still a project manager, but now I have additional responsibility, or I was a team leader, now I'm a project manager, now I'm a portfolio manager or a program manager or whatever. So I'm going up the chain, or I'm still the managing director, just a general term, but I was only managing half the U.S., now I'm managing all of the U.S. More responsibilities or new initiatives. I'm a project manager, and I'm still a project manager, and I didn't get a title change or anything, but the project you have me working on is so much more visible because you trust me, and I've built all this capital and clout with everybody on the 37th floor who loves me. Right? Kind of thing. And they all trust me. So you're now giving me bigger and more visible projects. I'm the salesperson. What was the example I used? The mid-market salesperson who now has new initiatives, maybe taking on larger clients, something like that. So you need to collect this because this needs to be part of your discussion. And then the last thing is the juxtaposition. And this is, well, if I wasn't here, what would it cost you to replace me? Now, you believe me, you can flower this up in a very nice manner. You're just asking them to consider this from a frame of reference standpoint. How much would that cost you in learning curve time? How much would that cost you in money? Is there additional expenses because you got to recruit? Do you have to pay for a recruiter to do that and get somebody to replace me? Does the corporate recruiter actually have to stop what they're doing over there to spend more time to replace me? Oh, there's nobody else in the company? Oh, there's somebody else in the company that can replace me? Great, who's going to replace them? Kind of thing. So are there additional expenses from a recruitment standpoint? And then kind of what I just alluded to before. The relationship capital. Hey, everybody knows me, man. Everybody loves me because I deliver all the time. And what happens? Guess what? All y'all, get this expression down. Trust is not transferable. It isn't. Right. Oh, you referred somebody? They're not you. Okay, it doesn't make any difference, right? I know employee referrals, that's kind of trust and transferring to the new person. Well, if I disappeared, right, or if I just grabbed somebody off the street and said, hey, thanks for buying my program, I'm going to give you to so-and-so. No, trust is not transferable. Why do you think I don't train people to coach you from my standpoint, right? Same kind of thing for you, right? Clout, capital, trust. All right, so I want you to think about all of these things. So just to kind of recap it, what were the accomplishments, the benefits, the extended benefits? What is the future value you're going to contribute? You got to make these arguments. You want more pay, right? What are you going to be contributing in the future? And then what's the juxtaposition? Then consider it from another angle. You pay me 100. What would it cost you? I showed you last week if you were here, right? I gave you the data, right? And I talked about how a median IT manager that's a job stayer earns $116K on average, median really, right, midpoint. And then, but what does a company have to pay, right? Labor IQ did the data, 139, right? If you were going to replace me, why are you giving me a 5K raise when you'd have to pay 139K kind of thing? And maybe a recruitment fee on top of that kind of stuff. So just make sure that you're doing that. And okay, so I'm going to wrap that up. So those are my hot topics. Make sure you're keeping an eye on the trends and the signals. Make sure if you are job searching and you're transitioning to a new employer, you're asking the right questions. 3, make sure if you are at a current company, whether it's a new company or whether you've been there for a while, make sure you're doing the right things to build your skills and become indispensable. And the other thing is make sure you're right-sizing your pay by considering these things. All right, I'm living right. Said I'd get it done in 40, and I did, which is going to leave us some time for Q&A. So if you are watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week.